next presentation is by Ulrike Koeber, an integrated researcher at IHA Nova FCSH Lisbon, who got a PhD in the journey of artifacts, the study and characterization of a nucleus of lacquered Luso-Asian objects from the 16th and the 17th centuries from the University of Evora in 2019. Her interests are material manifestations of cross-cultural relations, manifold exchanges, and circulations that characterize much of the early modern period, featuring the transfer and transformation of motifs, iconography, and techniques. Her title is Indian Craftsmanship Meets Japanese Influence, Early Modern Luso-Asian Religious Artifacts Manifesting Cross-Cultural Encounters. Well, I think it is carrying the same, or I mean, the not same, similar theme forward. So I invite you to present your lecture. Thank you. You are not audible. I think if you're muted.
Yes, now. Thank you very much. And greetings from Singapore to everybody. And thanks for inviting me to contribute to this conference. I tried to share my screen. Share. Oh. Is it all visible? Yes. So perhaps slightly digressing from the topic, and instead of showing the fruits of direct India-Japan contacts, I will present curious objects that derive from a very short period and exhibit both Indian and Japanese craftsmanship or influences. And actually it's João Paulo Oliveira Costa very well introduced the topic, so it was a good framing for my presentation now. These artifacts originate in the Portuguese ventures and Catholic missions in 16th and 17th century Asia and include parade shields, various types of furniture and religious items. Of various carpentry traditions, most display Iberian typologies. Some have intricately carved structures of tropical hardwood, but all are lacquered and embellished with motifs in gold. The decorations generally mingle Chinese auspicious motifs with European themes, such as coat of arms or Christian subjects. I first came across some of these specimens in the scope of conservation projects. My subsequent PhD research was inspired by the inconsistent characteristics of the artifact's physical features with their classification, which attempted to identify a single place of manufacture for each. This resulted in individual attributions to India, Southeast Asia, Japan, China, the Ryukyu Kingdom, or even various places in Europe. Yet discrepancies between the wooden structures and Asian lacquer decorations called for deeper inquiry that would combine historical contextualization with formal analysis and technical investigation. As not everybody might be familiar with the Asian anacardic lacquer saps, I will briefly introduce the material. With a millennia-old history, Asian lacquer is the viscous and milky sap tapped from the bark of trees of the Anacardiaceae family that grow over a large area of Southeast and East Asia. A complex organic material with peculiar properties, it has been used as glue and as a protective and decorative coating due to its ability to polymerize into a stable, durable film. This includes multi-layered applications, each layer of which requires time to cure, a complex, lengthy process consisting of many different steps that may involve several individuals. A variety of decorative options can produce impressive artifacts. Across Asia, unique lacquer craft traditions have developed. Chemically a water and oil emulsion, the lacquer sap's main components are catechol and their derivatives, generally dubbed urushiol, lacquer, and thitziol, which can be distinguished using scientific analysis. The sap of Toxicodendron veniciflum, native to China, Korea, and Japan, contains urushiol. The sap of Toxicodendron succedanea, that occurs mainly in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and southern China, contains lacquer. The sap of Melanohoria usitata, native to the Southeast Asian regions of today's Myanmar and Thailand, contains tetziol. Though this slide shows their approximate geographical distribution, it does not reveal that these may overlap. Oh. Sorry. To distinguish specific lacquering traditions, the technical study aimed to identify lacquer type and detect organic and inorganic materials mixed in lacquer formulations. For not being too technical, this slide shows only an overview of the methodology applied to the lacquer samples. Identifying precise formulations, assessing layer sequence, and classifying decorative techniques allowed the attribution to specific lacquer traditions. Our results revealed ground layers composed of iron-rich clay mixed with drying oil, such as tung or perilla, and protein, often identified as blood. The lacquer coatings mainly consisted of lacquer lacquer mixed with drying oil, with urushi present in only a few finishing or bowl layers, typical of Chinese conventions. Yet, whatever their typology, wood type, or carpentry tradition, secular or religious use, all specimens share these same Chinese characteristics in the lacquer coating. But also the decorations display Chinese auspicious flora and fauna motifs. Decorative techniques using gold leaf or shell gold combined with needle drawing on red or black backgrounds were the most common. But incised gilded lines, mother of pearl application, and oil litharge painting also appear. All are typical of traditional Chinese conventions and mentioned in the 16th century Ming Chinese treatise on lacquer, Xiuxi Lu, thus presenting contemporary craft traditions. This treatise also mentions the differences in quality and the use of simplified techniques and substitute materials, such as drying oil or animal blood, that were practiced by Chinese artisans on inferior objects for everyday use. And indeed, common to all specimens are layer structures and compositions indicative of cheaper and faster production methods. With this brief overview, I'll focus on those objects that link to the Catholic missions of the Society of Jesus. These liturgical artifacts proved fruitful sources as they are easily attributable to a certain time frame, geographical area, and historical context. Striking, especially on Jesuit objects, is the combination of mother of pearl and motifs in gold, presenting black surfaces profusely filled with plant and animal motifs. Because they resemble the characteristic decorative scheme of Japanese Namban lacquerware, many are still classified as such. When referring to Japanese Namban decorations, I focus on productions that mainly includes diverse kinds of portable receptacles and numerous liturgical items manufactured specially for the Jesuit mission on the Japanese archipelago, such as pyxes, oratories, mass book lecterns, or liquories. An impressive number of liturgical Namban pieces embellished with the Jesuits' emblem illustrate their practice of utilizing objects to spread their faith. Many of these pieces survive in Iberian or New Spanish churches, monasteries or convents, and in museum and private collections around the world, attesting to the extent of the Jesuit network. Their European or Christian shape and Namban lacquer coatings distinguish them from domestic Kodaiji makie decorations practiced by contemporary Japanese lacquer artisans. These include common decorative scenes with autumn grasses and seasonal plants drawn freehand, depicted in flat gold or silver makie and nashiji, against the spacious black background as seen on the right side of the present slide. In contrast to the Japanese domestic wear, Namban lacquer pieces commissioned by the Catholic Europeans featured black surfaces completely covered with these contrasting flora and fauna motifs in 3 different hues: gold and silver makie and mother of pearl. Sections are framed by a variety of single or multiple decorative bands. But the opulent use of mother of pearl does not correspond to Japanese aesthetics. This new exotic style may derive from the quiet European taste through influences of Korean or Thai lacquer art, or Portuguese commissions from the Indian Gujarat. Yet techniques and motifs were traditional Japanese and derived from the style developed in Kyoto. Here, these were adapted to Catholic European preference. The newly founded Society of Jesus arrived in India in 1542 and soon became the most active Catholic congregation in Asia. It reached Japan in 1549, where it monopolized missionary work until 1593. In the mid-16th century, Macau became the most lucrative center of Portuguese trade between China and Japan, Jesuit headquarters of both missions, and a place of interest for other missionaries. Across this vast region, numerous Jesuit missions educated Indian, Japanese, Chinese, and European students and prepared missionaries for their work. Far from Europe and the already established industry for devotional items centered in Goa, missionaries in East Asia required all kinds of furniture, imagery, religious utensils, and other supplies. Records and several objects attest that they sated the increasing demand also with works from India. Embroidered silk textiles, porcelain, sculptured ivory sands, enclosed in wooden oratories circulated among missions in India, Japan, and China. 16th and 17th century Christian art produced in Asia echoes the distinctive backgrounds of the hosting cultures. Above all, the Jesuits tailored the evangelization to the societies they wished to convert, taking advantage of compatible imagery and conventions already present. By borrowing symbols from local beliefs, they established connections between domestic and Christian imagery to express their optimistic message of salvation, resulting in a combined visual vocabulary. In India, church fittings, altar pieces, and devotional items display intricately carved surfaces. In Japan and China, they adapted lacquer traditions closely associated with spiritual beliefs and rituals since antiquity. Motifs rich in Chinese symbolism, styled and understood by East Asian craftsmen according to their own conventions, mimicking the decorative scheme of Japanese Namban lacquer, created exotic renderings of a wholly different emblematic vocabulary. Such ambiguity appears as material evidence of direct European influence in commissioning them. Furniture type or the use of carved tropical hardwoods such as teak often point to Goa in India, from the mid-16th century onward Jesuit headquarters and a primary production center for devotional items. Some of these pieces then received lacquer decoration locally. For example, the typology and assemblage of this carved oratory, destined to house a religious sculpture, identical to other examples manufactured on the Indian subcontinent. Yet it obviously has received its lacquer decoration in Japan according to Namban aesthetics. Thus, this oratory combines Indian and Japanese craftsmanship adapted to European commission and manifests the circulation of objects in that time. Similarly, I'm sorry. Something happened. Similarly, suggesting the circulation of objects among Catholic missions, this polygonal teak wood oratory, now missing its dome, once housed a religious figure typical of liturgical artifacts produced for the Catholic missions in Goa. The gilded surfaces of its richly carved segmented doors featured the Jesuit monogram and the intertwined letters A and M for Auspicious Maria. Their black lacquered interiors retain traces of Chinese Namban-style ornamentation, foliage and gold leaf, and vestiges of a decorative band of lozenges of shell, etched by a double line of gold. This mixing of craft traditions highlights the travels of the oratory itself. Analysis identifying Southeast Asian Fitzi lacquer in the exterior coating also revealed the circulation of Southeast Asian raw materials. This shows that Chinese artisans serving the Jesuits met the demand for religious implements by utilizing this imported sap, a detail already detected in Japanese Namban lacquerware. Obviously, Namban liturgical items circulated within Luso-Asian and Jesuit networks inspired the lacquering of religious items used in Macau and perhaps the China mission. But for their Jesuit clients, Chinese craftsmen clearly employed simpler and faster technologies and stylistically adjusted a variety of local auspicious designs to the Japanese Namban models. Southern Chinese Namban-style decorations feature various combinations, either gold leaf painting and shell application, a combination of gold leaf, mother of pearl, and red lacquer, gold leaf combined only with red lacquer.
Can you please summarize your observations to the next 5 minutes, please?
Or gold leaf using shell gold combined with mother of pearl. Surfaces are framed by very different but also manifold varieties of decorative bands of straight and very wavy gold lines with spirals or stylized flowers. These assorted combinations may indicate distinct time frames, locations, workshops, or even an evolution of style. Currently a research fellow at the Asian Civilizations Museum in Singapore, I'm examining this exceptional oratory among other Luso-Asian items acquired by the museum in the past decade. It combines all the characteristic of this type of Luso-Asian religious items. Its architectonical structure corresponds to that of Mannerist altars and implements in 16th and 17th century Christian churches in Europe and Portuguese settlements in India. The exterior features elaborate carving work on the pediment and the predella, and in the interior, it is equipped with a niche flanked by double columns that support a semicircular niche arch. This interior space was also destined to house a religious figure, like the Virgin and Child, now missing, as is the case with contemporary oratories produced in India. But in contrast to Jesuit items, it depicts the emblem of the Augustinians, a crowned double-headed eagle with a flamed heart pierced with arrows. When I previously said that all pieces are portable, I have been surprised by this shrine that stands out for its dimension. But also, its intricate decoration in the carved areas is remarkable, with gold leaf decorated individual elements using distinct textures. In comparable portable objects like chests or oratories, the carvings are usually completely gilded. Its extraordinary size and the presence of an inventory number indicate it has been used in an institutional context, equipping a chapel or church. And indeed, in 1589, Spanish Augustinian friars from the Philippines founded the monastery of St. Augustine in Macau, being later substituted by Portuguese friars. Even though not being a Jesuit commission, but obviously destined to the order of St. Augustine, this oratory again displays Namban-style decoration on its exterior carcass sides and doors. Though very much worn, Chinese auspicious flora and fauna motifs of tree, peonies, plum, and magpies, pheasants, peacocks, or cranes are still visible, here in a combination of gold leaf and red lacquer. The analysis of its lacquer coating revealed the same formulations commonly present on these pieces. But surprisingly, and in contrast to its rich and virtuous decoration, the coating consists of only one single body lacquer layer. This item raises new questions and adds to the wider phenomenon of these pieces. In this way, portable implements requested by the Jesuits on Japanese soil undoubtedly influenced these religious artifacts intended for Chinese converts. In adapting native features to Jesuit taste and preference, Japanese Namban lacquer decorations adapted contemporary Kodaiji style, while Chinese Namban style lacquerware and used traditional Chinese techniques and motifs. They point to the Portuguese enclave of Macau in southern China, the Jesuit strategic center from the late 1560s onward, strongly interlinked with the Japanese mission. Jesuit institutions train students of various backgrounds and Christians who fled Japan between 1614 and 1639 found refuge. The question of Macau as the locale of lacquer manufacture remains unsolved. Though its close link to Nagasaki by a maritime trade, its role as a refuge for Christians from Japan, and the shortage of Namban liturgical objects strongly suggest Macau to have some concrete role, whether in commissioning of objects, the social mingling of artisans and refugees, and its position as the nerve center of Catholic presence in East Asia. The fascinating amalgamation of Indian carving work with Japanese Namban or Chinese Namban style decoration most probably results from that. No export production yet. They were employed locally, as evidenced by their extreme individuality. Though generally neglected or considered of low quality and no great artistic value, Luso-Asian lacquers document a very short period of scarce concrete knowledge and limited documental evidence. They deserve appropriate appreciation and preservation. Thank you.
Thank you for that fascinating presentation.